Hey everybody, welcome to the Ballet Rising videocast. Today I'm going to be speaking with a very good friend of mine who I've really enjoyed sort of running into on numerous occasions on many different continents throughout the years. He is one of the world's foremost ballet impresarios. He's represented many of the world's top ballet stars and organized numerous galas and performances on multiple continents. He's sort of one of the who's who in the ballet world. I really want to get his perspective on what's happening in the ballet world and just in the world of the arts in general. He's an incredibly intelligent person. He's a lot of fun to talk to, so I'm really happy to have with us today Paul Seaquist. All right, everybody, here we are with Paul Seaquist. Welcome, man. Good to have you.
Hey, Casey, nice to be with you again.
Yeah. So I was just watching the interview that you did of me a little while ago. So I was like, hey, all right, it's time to turn the table a little bit and interview you.
It's during these last, months, all of us have been reinventing ourselves in many different ways, and the fact of doing interviews, of having conversations, it's always a nice thing to do, and it gets you back with your friends, and plus, they can be published, and people can maybe learn some about what we're doing, about what we're feeling, about what we feel about the pandemic.
Yeah. No, it's just great to be sharing so much information and just getting together. It's entertaining for a lot of people, but it's also quite insightful just to get all of these different perspectives on things. And yeah, of course, it's great to catch up with old friends. So yeah.
You know what happens, Casey? If the pandemic weren't here, maybe we wouldn't see each other as much.
I know a few people that I've talked to a lot more since the pandemic.
Me too, man. Me too. And you, one of them, because last time I saw you was many years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago in Menorca.
Uh-huh.
And after that, I never saw you again for that amount of time. And now, during the last couple of months, we'd see each other a couple of times. We stay in touch. So, in every bad thing, there's a good thing.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest themes that I've been sort of talking about a lot on the Ballet Rising videocast is sort of, what are the good things that are coming of this pandemic? Because I started the videocast like right at the beginning of the pandemic back in March of last year. And just immediately I thought, okay, this is a terrible situation. But like most really bad situations, you can look for the silver lining, and whoever comes out of this is going to come out of it a lot stronger. So I think the arts organizations and artists themselves are really going to move forward after this pandemic. And we're all going to be a lot stronger, a lot smarter, and a lot better for it. So yeah, looking for the silver lining.
I'm not sure if we'll be better or stronger. What I'm sure is that we'll be different.
Yeah, well, definitely different.
And I think that the fact of reinventing ourselves is very positive. I think that before the pandemic, many of us, myself included, of course, were kind of stuck in one way of doing things, in going the easy way, taking the same steps over and over again, which had good results in many cases. But after the pandemic hit, many of us had to go back and say, listen, world is changing. I'm not receiving the income I was receiving before. Shows are canceled. People are getting sick. People are dying. What do I have to do to survive this? And to survive this in many ways. One is, of course, in a physical way. I mean, not to die from this sickness. But then in many other ways, how do I keep my brand working?
Oh, yeah.
How do I create revenue streams? How do I, so all of these doubts have made us, different people, thanks to this pandemic.
Yeah. Well, and these are the things where where you're reinventing yourself. But one of the things that I keep going back to, people who watch this video cast, I keep going back to the same thing and just saying, look, one of the things that I think that is going to make the performing arts in general better is just our ability and desire now, as a result of this, to reach out to new audiences in a new way. And so, I mean, look at the internet. It's just full of ballet companies and opera companies that are now, for the first time in their history, streaming performances to anybody around the world. And you look at circumstances like, we keep going back to this young, talented boy in Nigeria. This is going to expand rapidly. If for the first time ever, people in anywhere in the world can watch their favorite ballet company, just like they can watch their favorite sports team on their mobile phone or on their TV or laptop or whatever you want. So, I mean, this is really pulling us out of the opera houses and into society. We're not such a closed organization anymore that everyone's kind of like, oh, what is that? You see little clips on the internet. No, now you can watch performances and you can actually interact, and somebody in Nigeria can get on their phone and watch New York City Ballet. When would anybody have ever had access to that kind of stuff before? So,
right.
I mean, it's going to really spur on the industry in a big way, not immediately, but down the line. We're going to see the results of this. So, these are the things where I think, okay, right now people are suffering. There are bad things going on, but I feel like we're going to be a lot better and a lot stronger as a result of it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, kind of thing.
Right. I think we needed this.
In a way, yeah.
Especially in our art form, dance. I'll say something I just said a few minutes ago. We were very comfortable. And doing and repeating the same steps over and over again, staying in our comfort zones. And I think that the fact of, having theaters closed, having opera houses closed, having venues closed, has made us, say, if I don't reinvent myself, I'll die. And one thing, of course, is the possibility of streaming live performances, which is working, and which is something that people are doing. But also comes all of this digital presentations of different things that companies are doing, which is also very interesting, because I think that all of this digital revolution, if you will, after COVID, has given the chance to people to watch live shows, but then it also has given us a chance to see what people are doing with this pandemic. And we have this bathtub Swan Lake. I don't know if you saw it already. We have this creation that Paris Opera did just for, the pandemic. Many companies are showing us works just created for these tough times.
Yeah, and it's really pushing the boundaries of creativity. And I think one of the things that really spurs on creativity is necessity. And now that we've been in this sort of confined space, and we feel very restricted and confined, and now is when the creativity really begins. We're seeing some great creativity come out of this. So when you're restricted and you can't do what you normally do, the creative people get creative, and we're seeing that. So we're just seeing this influx of creativity, and what's going to come as a result of this down the line is going to be actually quite interesting. We don't even know, but there's a whole new genre of ballet now with like made for film choreography. Choreography that's not designed for the stage, but designed for a film set, and that's going to be a lot more prevalent in the future as well.
Right. I do a lot of work with the music industry, and the music industry had to reinvent itself as well. But it did it long time ago, with the creation of iTunes, and and with the digital music, which became very accessible to everybody. the music industry had to say, you know, wait a minute, music is not enough. You know, our art form, although amazing, is not enough. What can we do? And they began doing these amazing shows. You know, they began doing these interactive videos. They began doing presenting artists in a different light. You know, not just the guy singing or strumming the guitar, but you know, how their lives are, how they create. You know, and normally today when you buy a record, you know, there's all of this extra content that makes you become more interested in what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that ballet has to do this, dance has to do this as soon as possible, because if not, it's going to become a dead art form.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the theater, you go to watch a show, and it's most maybe 70 or 80% of the audience are people over 60 years old. Mm. And you say, you know, is this the target I'm looking for? You know, because if it is, the art form will be done in 20 more years. Mm. I think that with this, you know, digital revolution for dance, we are gaining many, many more good years.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're seducing young people. Mm-hmm. We're introducing our art form to kids. You know, people who are in the computer all day, YouTubing, you know, Instagramming, Facebooking, you know, and they are the target that we must be targeting, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And this will make our art form a lot healthier for the future.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you can already see it already. You know, I one of the some of the people that Ballet Rising is working with, and we're really trying to highlight a lot, is the Ballet Teachers Association of Nigeria, and these are mostly self-taught ballet teachers who've never taken ballet before in their life. Most of them learned ballet from YouTube. They watched stuff on YouTube and Facebook and things like that. And then they thought, okay, that's beautiful. I love it. I'm going to go start a ballet school. But I mean, this was a few years ago when there was hardly any content out there. You know, you could see little clips of things like that. Now there's a plethora, you know, there's this cornucopia of digital content about classical ballet, not just the ballets themselves, but all the behind the scenes, and there's stuff out there. And these are the people that are just lapping that up. And it's really going to sort of, you know, jump a generation, and we can appeal now to much younger people, and you're seeing it already. Ballet already appeals to younger people, but taking it digital is going to really take that much further.
You know, many years ago, we were entering the Middle East market with dance, and I had very interesting partners who were coming from the Formula One world.
Oh, wow.
They had nothing to do with dance or performing arts, or a little bit, because Formula One is performing arts in many ways.
Yeah.
So we created this amazing concept that was behind the scenes. So what we did is that we sold tickets for the venue, but then we had a VIP ticket that were 50 seats behind the stage, backstage. So these 50 VIP people came to the theater 2 hours before the show, so they could see the dancers making up, warming up, talking, having their last cigarette before the show, you know.
Dancers don't
then
smoke.
They would sit. then let's say things as they are. Then they would sit and see the show from behind the scenes, you know, and they would see everything. They would smell the sweat. They would smell the you know, the makeup. Exactly. They could really live a performance behind the scenes. And I realized that most people are more interested in what happens behind the scene than what happens on stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's unusual. It's a very unique perspective that very few people get to. I'm the same. I'm a big sports fan. I love to watch the game, but I mean, if I can go back, behind the bleachers and watch the team warming up, and I mean, that's a real special thing. So yeah.
Right. And this is something that, going back to the music industry, they learned this very quick. And they began, I don't know if you remember MTV, they had the music videos, of course, but then they had all of these other programs that made you know the artist and see him in different eyes. They had cribs. Remember cribs, where they showed where these guys live, their mansions, their cars, their wives, their girlfriends, their dogs. They began producing the making of shows. Metallica recording an album, and you had a 4-hour-long video seeing how the guys were recording the album. And this had a big explosion in sales. People began buying the records, people began buying the videos. MTV started selling, a lot of airtime. And this was all profit for everybody, for the artist, for the music companies, for MTV, and of course, for the viewer. I think that ballet and dance is doing this now, digitally. Now you don't have to come to my shows to sit backstage and buy a VIP ticket, which is, very expensive. You just go on YouTube and see what is happening behind the stage. And this is, again, something that will make our art form endure the passage of time.
It's gonna help people relate to it. People can sort of get involved and feel involved and feel like they're a closer part of it. It's not this sort of thing over there. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, great. They become a part of it. And I think what's really interesting, ballet companies have done a little bit of this in the past. Go behind the scenes and see the dancers, see what do the dancers do on their free time. What's really interesting is you're seeing a lot of that, but it's the dancers who are doing it, and it's their social media that they're doing it. They're taking it upon themselves.
Exactly.
There's so many dancers now that are live streaming at home, or doing whatever they're doing behind the scenes or in class. You can really just follow the dancers themselves, and you see their daily routine of what they're eating and where they're going. And so it's really interesting that it's actually growing. I don't know if you could call that organic, that sort of as more of a dancer initiative rather than the companies and the marketing teams. So it's an interesting dynamic there. But it's just all about getting those audiences relating to it and sort of just building sort of a, I guess you could say, relationship with the artists.
Exactly. Ballet specifically is a very distant art form, because you sit, in the theater, which can be very intimidating. You go to Paris Opera, you go to Covent Garden, and it's very intimidating, and you sit there, and suddenly the music begins, and it's classical music, which can also be very intimidating to some people. And suddenly you see these stars go on stage, very distant, very far away. And after the show ends, this huge curtain closes, basically saying, that's your world, this is my world. And eliminating this curtain is very important. And we have dancers today who have an immense presence in social media. You have a kid like Daniil Simkin, who has 150K of followers in Instagram. You have a dancer like Iana Salenko, who has, a big chunk of people as well. Stephen McRae, just to mention a few. And this interaction, for a kid to get up in the morning and see, what did Iana eat this morning for breakfast? What point shoes does she wear? And if she doesn't say it, he can write a message.
Ask him.
Iana, which point shoes do you wear? And she answers back, Freed of London. I don't know, And this breaks, the curtain that existed for so many years.
Yeah.
Ballet has always been considered an elitist art form, which is good, maybe.
In a way.
But yes. Yeah. But I think you can be elitist but accessible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all about keeping it somewhat exclusive, you know, because that exclusivity is kind of interesting. It kind of piques people's idea a bit, but you don't want to be too exclusive, you know, then you just get way too far. And I feel like as an art form, as a community, we have over the generations become a bit too exclusive. I think we can still keep some type of mystique about it, but we can still come a lot closer to our audiences and bring them in, not just our audiences, but the community, you know, other.
Exactly.
And this is what Ballet Rising is all about bringing the community closer together, people that are, you know, far away, that feel very disconnected, saying, hey, no, there's a place for everybody here. It's
right.
Not that exclusive of an art form.
You know, I think that ballet directors, with some few exceptions, have been very dumb, to put it mildly, you know, for many years. They assumed the responsibility of being complete dicks, you know, of being these, you know, untouchable figures, you know, all knowing, you know, in a dictatorial form, and not very nice people, many of them, not very well prepared, most of them, to do a job like they're supposed to do. And I think that this scared many people away from dance and ballet. And I think that this is one of the good things that the pandemic is doing. It told these directors, this almighty, you know, divas, they said, if you don't get your act together, your company is going to close, you know, and the jobs and livelihood of your dancers is going to be in your hands. So they began slowly, but they began making the changes necessary. Now you can see many companies in Europe, in America as well, that are breaking up in small companies that are doing the same rep of maybe 8 dancers, 10 dancers, and they are taking their art form to different places.
Yeah.
Basically, the idea of if people don't come to the ballet, ballet goes to the people. And this is something that directors should have done many, many, many years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we've been waiting to do it. There's been such a reluctance. You know, it's just sort of like the mandate. It feels like it's our mandate to perform in the opera house. And, you know, some companies have been a little bit more progressive than others at going out and saying, okay, let's get into the community. But yeah, there was just this sort of like, this is what we do. Boom. We perform in the opera house, no more, no less, you know, boom. Okay, we do a little bit of outreach. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Now it's like do or die, you know. Your company is going to go under unless you get out there and do something.
Yeah, it's very comfortable, you know. And I go back to the comfort of all of this. Before it was very comfortable, you know, being a director, you know, making $100,000, $150,000 a year, repeating the same rep, acting like a god, you know, keeping people away in front of the curtain. It was very easy. Yeah. Come on, man. You're not a god. Your job is to take ballet to the people. Your job is to create a bigger market for your art form. Do it.
Yeah, and it's also part of the mentality of like nonprofits. Nonprofits are always sort of like, oh, we can't do this because we're a nonprofit. We can't, our mandate is just to do this, and it's sort of a spiraling effect of just sort of like, this is all we do, this is all our mandate is, and if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards, kind of thing. And there was just this sort of reluctance to really get out there and do something different. There was a lot of fun ideas of what you can do on the stage, but it's not about being creative on the stage. It's about being creative on, exactly as we said, taking the stage outside and taking the dance to the people.
Yeah, and I think that it's very important to be creative on stage. And this is the responsibility of dancers, choreographers, musicians. But there is another part of creativity that comes in the management staff. And if management is not creative, you get another job,
Yeah.
It's that simple. I'm very... I set a lot of responsibility in management. Of course, I work in management. I've been a manager during all of my career. And a manager is not a guy who gets jobs for your artist. It's not a guy who, gives your artist a handkerchief when she's crying, when something didn't work out. He's not the guy who, ties the ribbon on the point shoes, A manager is an architect of careers. And a manager of an opera house, a manager of a theater, an artistic director should also be an architect of careers, but an architect of the art form you are representing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you see some of them. Sometimes you see an artistic director that go, wow, this guy or this girl, is doing something special.
Yeah.
He or she is really understanding where the pond, where the bishop must go.
Yeah.
But most of them, man, they needed the pandemic to wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fortunately now I think they are finally smelling it. I mean, I've been fortunate. I've both companies I spent a long time with, Pacific Northwest Ballet and Dutch National Ballet, are both quite progressive in that
Yes.
respect. But I have seen where you're like, wow, come on, get do something. And it's not just even the individual theaters and companies themselves. The other thing I really want Ballet Rising to be is sort of someone who, an organization that can advocate for the art form outside of the mandate of the individual opera houses. The Dutch National Ballet, their mandate is to do ballet for the Netherlands, for the Dutch audience. It's the same with the Paris Opera Ballet, New York City Ballet. But whose job is it to go to, Sri Lanka and advocate for the virtues and the value of dance and ballet and art? Whose job is that? Football does that. The teams are going around the world constantly and advocating for the sport, advocating, spreading the brand names, things like that. Arts don't do that.
They don't.
And so this is what I really want Ballet Rising to be: someone who, an organization that can go outside the mandate of the individual opera houses and say, hey, ballet is good. Ballet is a great art form. There's a lot of good things to learn, or just, primarily just advocating for art and dance. But, obviously ballet, we believe, is a great form of dance and art. So yeah, I mean, it's about the community going beyond its mandate, going beyond just saying, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is all I do. Reach out, go beyond, engage new audiences, engage new communities, and bring people in from the edges.
When Microsoft began, you entered the offices, and right when the doors opened, there was a big marble writing that said, think. And then Steve Jobs invented Apple computers, and he thought about this, and he created the same marble, you know, that said, think different,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm.
And that's the clue. And it's very sad to know that Steve Jobs understood this 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Mm.
And we in the dance world are barely understanding this today.
You know, I mean, dancers and artists, they're incredibly intelligent people, but we're very focused on our art form, and very, you know, very seldom do people really branch out. It's amazing when you see dancers who do leave the profession. They end up usually becoming extremely successful in other professions, but to get
Of
people
course.
out of that mentality and just sort of expand the intelligence beyond the dancing and the choreography is, yeah, it's unfortunate it doesn't happen a little bit more often. I think we would all be a lot better off. But
Yeah. I think this is a must. You know, I don't want to come too strong towards management of companies or anything like that, but I think it's very important. And I say it with all respect. You know, we must think different.
yeah,
And I see that creators are thinking different. They're doing amazing things. You know, you see the works of Sidilar Kawi.
oh yeah,
You know, you see the works that, you know, people in C de la B are doing, you know, in Belgium. You see the things that, you know, Marco Geke is doing. And you go, even Paul Lightfoot, still, they're doing amazing things. You go like, what?
mm.
But we're a big family. It's not only that the choreographers do amazing works, we have to add to this that dancers dance these amazing works amazingly.
Mm.
And we have to add to this that directors hire the choreographers and hire the dancers so that this art form explodes. And then we have to add to the family the impresarios, the managers that take this product and show it to the world. So it's a big family, and we should all be working, you know, rowing in the same direction, you know,
Yeah.
and thinking differently.
Yeah.
You know, that's a must.
Yeah. Well, it's finally happening. It took a global pandemic, but you know, it is interesting to finally see it happening and seeing that creativity finally go. You know, it could have happened a lot sooner, but you know, I think we're growing and we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it's better late than never.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. But I think that these discussions, these conversations, Casey, I think they're very important because it makes people, you know, try to understand where the problem is.
Mm.
You know, reflection is very important. And reflection arises when you have problems, when you have doubts.
Yeah.
If you don't have doubts, you don't reflect. You know? So it's important for people to go, okay, what's wrong with my art form? Where did we mess it up?
Yeah.
And where did we mess it up? Is it in the education that we receive as dancers? Is it there? Is it in the you know, poor management of companies? Is it in the lack of public funding? Is it in the lack of a bigger market? You know, it's important to think about all these things.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that people it's not even it's important to just simply recognize that there's a problem, period. You know,
Right.
just like for me, it's always been a problem that we haven't engaged more in the digital world sooner. And for a lot of people, that wasn't a problem. That wasn't a bug. It was a feature. No, we're finding out now that was a bug. You know,
Right.
you know, and I understand everybody's concerns with moving the arts online. You know, it's a live performance. We're live performers, and we don't want to ever lose that. But you can still meet people halfway a little bit. You can engage in the digital world without losing that sort of live aspect. And I think people were just a little bit closed mind about that. But yeah, where it comes from and who and how and everything. It's a difficult, really question to answer, but you know,
Yeah.
we're finally moving on and smelling.
I mean, I think that the answer is not in live streaming shows. I think the answer is not there, because you go to YouTube and you can see Nureyev dancing Corsair. You know, you go to YouTube and you can see Baryshnikov dancing Doku. So basically, you're seeing the shows, even if they're not live. You're seeing shows in any moment of time. You can do that, and you know, you can go and you can see Nuriyev's graduation doing Corsair variation, and you see the guy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, see this stuff, but you know that's not. For me, that's kind of like watching sports highlights. You know, it's much more entertaining watching the live game. And, you know, if you were there watching it at that moment, that's something spectacular.
I agree.
The coolest thing in the world is that when you're there and you're watching it live, that's your performance. You know, it's like how many. I like to tell people I saw Baryshnikov dance live on stage. You know, and people can watch recordings of it all the time, but I was there. I saw him in person. You know, and that's a big thing for me.
You're right. You're right. I'm not, you know, taking importance out of the live show. It is super important. And to see Malakhov on stage is completely different to see him, you know, in a video. That's for sure. But what I'm saying is that it is very important not only to live stream, but also to create content other than live streaming that will engage a bigger audience.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we're only beginning to scratch the surface of the amounts, not just the amount of digital content we can create, but the different kinds of different content we can create.
Right.
From live stream performances to pre-recorded performances, sections of performances, behind the scenes of performances, rehearsals, interviews. I mean, it's just like we can do a lot of things that we haven't even thought of yet. You know?
Exactly. That's exactly the point that I'm making, Casey. Because if you don't like ballet, watching a live stream performance means nothing to you.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what is that?
You know, it's if I don't like football, watching the World Cup makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
You know, my job as an impresario is to seduce you so that you do like watching live stream performances. My job as a FIFA agent is to seduce you so that you want to watch football. You know, and this is what we do with extra content.
Yeah.
What do I have to create so that your next step is watching a live performance?
Yeah.
And that's the question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all sorts of live entertainment, whether it's music or sports and the arts, need to catch up here. You know, they have their product, you know, and for sports, it's the game. And for live entertainment, it's, say, the concert. But nowadays, you know, you used to go to a football game and it was like the football game and maybe there was a beer and a hot dog. That was,
right.
You know, now you go and it's like a full theme park. You know, there's rides, there's restaurants, there's, you know, shopping malls. It's now like a theme park and the game is sort of the main event, but there's a lot of stuff around it. So the game, you don't go to a game anymore. You go to
the experience.
An experience, exactly. The game is just part of the experience. And I think opera houses and arts need to do this as well.
And not even, it might be that the game is not even the most important part
sometimes
of the game.
Yeah, well, if you go to a baseball game.
You know, for example, if you see the halftime show, you know, in the, you know, in football, this is maybe the main event.
Oh yeah, a lot of people watch it just for the halftime show.
Exactly. You know, and that's fine. That's fine. As a dance impresario, I'm fine with the fact that I take second place as long as you come.
Yeah. Come.
You know, it's no problem. I'll take the second seat as long as you come. That's no problem. Come to the theater to have a great drink, come to the theater to watch a halftime show, if you will, come to the theater to watch the supermodels, come to the theater to, you know, to shake Obama's hand, you know, and I'm fine. Watch the ballet show as well. I'm very happy with this because all of these people who come to greet Obama, to greet whatever, to have a drink, they're going to be part of my market as well.
Yeah.
I'm very fine with this.
A great introduction as well. You know, we used to go to baseball games in Seattle all the time. None of us really cared that much about baseball.
There you go.
But, you know, later the next season, we'd go to a game and some of the people who'd never watched baseball before suddenly go like, oh yeah, we saw that guy last year. Oh yeah, he was hitting really good. And then they pay attention a little bit more. Is he going to hit good again? You know, so it's like you go, you get a little bit of an experience, and down the line, you suddenly go, oh yeah, you know, you go to a ballet and you don't really care much about ballet, but you go for the experience, you have a good time. Next time you go to the ballet, you say, oh, I saw that person dance before. They were really good. Okay, let's watch them this time. Let's sit back. And then you know, you're experienced and you come into the ecosystem and you just move in nice and slow.
Exactly, that's it. And again, the question, what do I have to do? You know, what content do I have to give you so that the next content that you buy is a live show? You know, maybe, you know, and your baseball games, the hot dogs were amazing. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So next time you'll go, you'll have another hot dog, but you'll watch the game for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Then the beer was good. So then you go for a third time for the hot dog, for the beer, and you watch a little bit more of the show. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You're a baseball fan.
Exactly. Baseball is a multi-billion industry.
Yeah, it's enormous.
It wasn't like this in the beginning.
No.
In the beginning, it was three guys, you know, just hitting the ball. You know, yeah. I remember many years ago, I was writing for a magazine, dance magazine. I had I wrote monthly articles. It was kind of an orthodox view of ballet. And one of the articles I wrote talked about Levi Strauss, about the jeans, Levi's.
Okay.
You know, Levi's were created basically to clothe the people who were in the gold fever in the West Coast.
Oh, yeah.
So they had these strong pants with which they could work, you know, kneel, be in the water, get dirty, you know, and they would last. It began selling 5 pairs of pants. Today, we all have at least 3-5 pairs of jeans in our closets. Everybody.
Yeah.
From a guy in Mongolia to a guy in the Patagonia in Argentina or the south of Chile. Everybody. How did this happen? A good product offered intelligently, you know, in a long period of time. A product that can be used in many different ways. It clothes you. You can work with these pants. Time went by. You look good in jeans. Now you look elegant in jeans. Now you have jeans jackets. Now you can go to a meeting in jeans. You know, so in one moment, this single product affected 25 different markets. And then the question rises again. What can we do so that our art form affects the same markets, the same amount of markets that Levi's jeans affects today? It's only a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have a full art form. It's beautiful. It's entertaining. You have beautiful girls on stage. You have beautiful boys on stage. It's healthy. It's historical.
Yeah.
It's married with music,
Mm.
and not cheap music. It's classics.
Tchaikovsky.
It's Tchaikovsky. It's Rachmaninoff. It's Beethoven. It's Mahler.
Mm.
We have it's healthy. It's health. It's a sport.
Yeah, and
We have everything to win.
This is just inside the opera house. You know, I teach adult classes, and people come for the community, for the health, for,
there you go.
You know, they come for a whole set of different reasons than what people go to the opera house for. And so, I mean, there's multiple dimensions, you know,
Right.
beyond just the opera house, people coming and taking open classes because they just like to do ballet. You know, some of them like to do it because of the community. Some of them like it because they want to get healthy. Some of them like it because it was their childhood dream. I mean, there's just a multitude of reasons. But yeah, I mean, and you can even take it a step further. You know, there's so many dimensions here beyond just the performance that, you know, I don't think most of the industry has even thought about tapping into.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And you know, we had this amazing product, you know, nevertheless, we've managed to mess it up.
Well,
you know,
I mean, I don't know if we've messed it up, but I don't think that we've taken it as far as it could have gone. I mean, in my view, you know, I think it just has been very limited, which is kind of messing it up, but it just could be so much more. I think it will be if more entrepreneurs, people like you and me, which I think there are, really get into this and discuss it a lot further and see where we can take it.
Yeah, yeah. Discussion is important.
Yeah.
I remember for many years, the only discussion at home was dance. How can we make dance better? What are the problems with dance? Where can we take dance? What's lacking? You know, what's too much? Who has a great view? Who has a wrong view? And Casey, for many years, parties in my house were to talk about the future of dance. For many years. You know, after a while, you get a bit, you become a bit more polythematic. But yeah, that was for many years. This was what we were doing, and I think this is what we should do.
Yeah.
I think we should talk, we should discuss, we should plan, we should be creative. Not only the artist, but the people behind the stage. Yeah. They are the ones who must be the most creative. Because artists take care of themselves. You know, I put you and Sidi Larbi Sherkawi in a studio, and 2 or 3 hours later, you will have an amazing dance piece. You will. That's organic. It's my job to get that and take it, show it, present it, market it. You know, you guys are organic. You guys are like angels. It's the job of the manager, of the impresario, and of the artistic directors in the companies to get their act together.
Well, we're seeing a lot of it's kind of developed throughout my career, but you know, you're seeing a generation of dancers becoming entrepreneurs as well. I'll never forget doing a gala with I can't remember who it was. It was down in Mexico. Daniel Olbricht. He was telling me about his you know, like many dancers nowadays, they have their, you know, Daniel Olbricht and friends touring group, stuff like that, which is already quite entrepreneurial, interesting. Yeah. He found out he wanted to do Robin's Fancy Free for his touring company, and he found out that there were only 2 companies in the United States that had Fancy Free sets. I think it was New York City Ballet and San Francisco Ballet. Apparently, New York City Ballet didn't rent out their sets or didn't travel, something like that. Story might be off and on. So, but yeah. So San Francisco, I think, had a set, but they were really expensive, and so nobody could, a small touring company like his couldn't afford it. So he put down his own money and made his own set and made it so that it was easily tourable, and he undercut the other company who had the set. So he had his own set that he was then renting out to various ballet companies around the country. And I was like, wow, I mean, that's brilliant. He's a dancer, but such an entrepreneur. And just.
Yeah, I mean, this happens. And, Daniel did the right thing. I mean, but it happens so much that there are many revenue streams in theaters, in opera houses, in dance that we just don't use.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, the renting of sets and costumes is something that is a great moneymaker. And big theaters prefer to destroy their sets and costumes than to rent them just because they don't know it's a good revenue stream.
Yeah.
And because it's more expensive to keep them than to use them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is something that just happened with us. We're just going to be doing Malakhov's Bayader in Hong Kong.
Great.
The costumes that we made for Berlin were destroyed.
Oh.
Then there's other costumes in Vienna. But since they know it's the only costume and sets of Malakhov's Bayader, they charge $100K for rental or more.
Thanks.
What did we do? We created our own costumes again. It's cheaper and it's ours. And we can do the shows whenever we want. We can rent them whenever we want. It's a revenue stream.
Yeah.
And these are the things that I'm saying, you must think about these things. You have big opera houses that have things just in sorry, something is, there we go. Just a second.
Yeah, no worries.
That have sets and costumes just in storage. Why?
I mean, warehouses full of sets and costumes that are just sitting there collecting dust.
Yeah. Give me a sec, Casey. I'll just turn the light on.
Yeah, sure.
So these are the things, Casey, that are important for the brass in companies to think about. Because after all, the more money you have, the more things you can do. The more tickets you sell, the better sets, the better costumes, the better choreographers you can hire. The more productions you sell, you can pay your dancers more. Let's work for this. Let's sell.
Oh, that requires people to move beyond the I'm a nonprofit, so give me money. If you start thinking entrepreneurial, then it's like, well, wait, okay, we could actually. God, people, this is sort of sacrilege in the arts sometimes, but you could make it for profit. It is possible. There is a way.
It is profitable. It is profitable, and it can be done. The fact of it being non-profit doesn't mean that you don't have to make a profit.
Yeah.
Because non-profit organizations make profit.
Oh, I'm a charity, so give me money. It's like sort of this sort of apologetic kind of viewpoint that is not necessary. If you really market it, if you really know how to give it to the audiences, expand the fan base, you can make it for profit. It doesn't have to be a losing venture every time. Ballet is big. People love it. I mean, look, Disney is doing a series on ballet right now. I mean, you got kids in Africa that are, you know, all over the BBC now. You've got, there was recently a film, a Netflix movie that was for Indian audiences with Indian actors. And it was an Indian movie about a young boy who wants to do ballet in India.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, this isn't like an international film for Westerners that think it's cute that an Indian would do ballet. No, this is an Indian film for Indian people. And he
Yeah.
wants to become a classical ballet dancer. I was like, you know, this is huge. Ballet is everywhere. It's, you know, it's on TV, it's in the movies, it's in the news, you know, it's all over the place. It's like, why is this not a bigger, more prevalent, more well-known art form? Why, what is holding it back? It's just mostly just an old mentality, I think.
Yeah, and but then there's something strange, you know. Nureyev was a huge star, not only in the dance world. He was a huge star, so huge that he would, you know, he was Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy, one of her best friends. He'd
Yeah.
hang out with Bobby Kennedy and JFK. You know, he'd go to huge parties, and he was the, you know, the center of attention. He was a huge star, an international star.
Yeah, he was one of those stars like Baryshnikov, Nureyev and Baryshnikov. They transcended the ballet. You know, they were such
Exactly.
stars that they
What?
were stars outside of the ballet world.
Why isn't this happening today? We have more tools. We have social media. We have internet. We have, you know, everything. Why don't we have a super amazing, huge world star of ballet today that represents our art form? Where is our Nureyev? Where is he?
A little bit with people like Misty Copeland. You know, she's,
In the States.
but I think there could be so much more.
Exactly.
Misty is
Exactly.
ambassador of the art form. She's a great dancer, you know, but you know, she's not the only one. There's lots of great dancers, and ballet in general, like big ballet stars, could transcend their genres. So it's just like musicians. You see a lot of musicians who end up going into acting, or actors who go into another because they've been so big, or sometimes athletes, you know, transcend their sport and go into film or something like that. I think you could very easily see a lot of dancers doing that and transform.
Exactly.
It, you know, it's just, it feels so limited right now, and I just can't figure out why. There's a drive, there's a global drive, there's a global demand. People love it, people like it. Why is it so limited?
And that's my question. That's my question. Where's our Nureyev? We don't have one anymore. And Misty, of course, she's a big star in the dance world, in the industry. But she's not Nureyev. I mean, she's not. She doesn't have this star power that, you know, Nureyev had or Baryshnikov had.
No.
And Baryshnikov stopped dancing when? Mid 80s?
Yeah, something like that. Well, classical.
Yeah, you know, something like that. So it's been, man, almost 40 years without a superstar. We have Malakhov. Yeah, but Malakhov didn't transcend either. We have Roberto Bolle. Okay, but he didn't transcend either. We don't have our Nureyevs. So of course, people want to see this, you know, light on the horizon, and they want to follow this light. This is what Nureyev did. We need one now. We need for people who don't like ballet or who don't know about ballet to say, wow, I know this name. I know this guy. He's beautiful. He jumps, huge jumps. He dances, he moves, he has an amazing body, fantastic six pack. You know, this draws people in.
Yeah.
Where are they now? Misty is beautiful. I mean, you look at Misty and you go like, wow, I want to know more about her, you know? But where's her star power? Not enough yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not demeaning Misty or Roberto or Vladimir, not at all. I'm just saying there's something that we are doing wrong, that we are not making these superstars become superstars.
Yeah.
It's our mistake.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's just that we've never gone out and cultivated new audiences beyond the people
Exactly.
in the opera house on any given night, which is a very small number of people.
Exactly.
You know, And it's been going on for too long. You know, we just really limited ourselves in that respect.
Right.
But
And again, I go back to the comfort zone. It's been too comfortable, Casey.
yeah,
You know, it's been too comfy. I have a nice principal dancer. He can do Swan Lake and he can do Giselle. Then I have another couple for more energetic pieces, for Don Q, for Corsair. You know, I can mix it together once in a while so I get a bigger audience draw. But that's good. That's enough. Enough is never enough. You know, let's go to music. We have a superstar as Justin Bieber. He doesn't stop, man. Everything he does is a home run. We have an artist like Shakira, for example, or now all of this, you know, Latin explosion of reggaeton and, you know, Maluma and, you know, Bad Bunny and all these guys. It's one hit after another.
yeah.
They don't stop. This is what we need. I think ballet, I think dance lost the hunger.
Yeah,
because we became comfy.
you know, I felt that a lot. You know, when I first started my career, like we were talking about in the interview that was just released. Yeah, I started off my career and I felt like we were kind of on this kind of downward slope. You know, it was like we came off of that big high of Baryshnikov in the 80s. And, you know, we kind of rode that coattail for a little while, but by the mid 90s, it was just like, what are we doing? You know, I mean, ballet is a great art form, but what are we doing? Where are we going? You know, it just seemed kind of like, all right, we're doing the same thing we've always done. And it kind of stayed that way for a really long time. I think only up until the past few years did it seem like, oh, okay, now we're maybe trying to move out of that and do something a little bit different. But you know, there wasn't any real big impetus until COVID.
Yeah, and you know the sad thing about this is that yes, during the last years there has been a little explosion for dance and ballet, but it hasn't been produced by ourselves. And you know, we had Black Swan, the movie, that had nothing to do with an effort of the dance industry.
Yeah,
That was Hollywood. Hollywood said, there's a nice story here, let me explode it. There was, not that I know of anybody in the dance world that said, let's push for this. It's not a dance industry production.
Yeah.
It's a Hollywood production about dance.
Yeah, so you can see that the interest is there, the desire is there, but yeah, nobody in the dance world has really gone out and well, I'm sure people have tried. It's not like there aren't people in this industry who haven't tried and don't have good ideas. It's just haven't been terribly successful, and so that's sort of a little bit of a that's the community's fault, you know.
Many people have tried. Many people have tried, but the industry is so obsolete in its management style and again in feeling comfortable, that you have a couple of young impresarios, you have a couple of young, talented managers, you know, who want to do something with this, and immediately the doors of the big opera houses close. They're afraid of this. The artistic directors don't want their jobs to be put in the line, you know. So immediately, it's very difficult to enter the industry. If you're not an insider, it's very difficult to become one.
Oh yeah, yeah. This industry is very, very isolated and closed.
And this is the problem. We cannot be closed, because if you're closed, you know, you're resisting to new experiences, to new trains of thoughts, you know, to new influences.
Yeah.
And this is what's happened with the ballet world.
Yeah.
I'm the director of the biggest company in the world. I'm the director of the biggest theater in the world. We live in our bubble. We're very happy together. Let's not let anybody in. And that's the mistake.
Yeah, and I don't think that this is a lot of. I don't know anybody who's actually consciously thought, okay, let's close. You know, or let's not experiment. You know, it's never been like a conscious decision of any one particular.
Because Casey, you come from a company, Casey, where your director was very, very progressive.
No, it's true.
And a very smart guy.
Both,
you know, and
very progressive and open. So yeah, I mean, I have been around some companies that I've been like, wow, okay, you know, and you hear about in the industry.
Ted is a very open-minded guy, a very smart guy, very progressive. So you know, you don't see this very often. But in other parts of the world, and this is what my experience, not with 1, 2, or 3 companies, with many, it's easier to close the door.
Yeah.
Who is this guy who's coming with great ideas that I didn't have?
And the ego comes out.
Exactly, out. Who is this guy who wants to produce a performance in, you know, out? You know?
Yeah.
Who is this guy who's taking all of my principal dancers on tour and making a lot of money for them that I'm not? Out. I've lived this, Casey. Not once, nor twice, many, 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 many times. And I think that until we understand that it's synergy, things won't happen.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was beginning in this business, I would do tours in different companies. I'd call the directors so I could go and see the company, so I could meet them, so I could, you know, basically put a face on the name. You know, introduce myself. I'm a young impresario. I have these ideas. I contacted maybe 15 companies, and 2 received me. You know?
Yeah.
Why?
That's not so surprising. I've had a few experiences with ballet companies like that before. None that I've worked with, but yeah, my experiences was just all right.
And then I give you the example in another art form. When I was beginning in the music business, I did exactly the same thing. And I called the biggest music labels, record labels, the biggest managers. All the doors were open. You know, all the doors were open. I remember sitting with the president of Sony Music, Latin, having coffee, talking about music, talking about cars, Warner Music, manager of Justin Bieber, sitting with him in his LA office, talking about life. And these are, you know, heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Why?
Wow.
And then we have the how can you say this? Then we have the energy to say that things are not working, that we have a small art form, that we don't, you know, sell enough seats. Open up, man. Talk, analyze, reflect, invite, synergy, collaboration.
No, but in collaboration, synergy, all of that stuff, everyone talks about that. These are big words. We use them a lot, but we only use them when we're specifically talking about dance, choreography, you know, synergy between choreographers and dancers, you know, things like that. We don't expand it beyond that and move it into other areas of the profession. You know, the dance is only one part of it. There's a huge opera house full of hundreds of people, and they're not dancers. You know,
exactly. Don't, and my answer to that is, you know, don't talk it, walk it. Don't talk it, walk it, my man. Don't tell me you're this big director, or, you know, that you're this and you're that. Don't talk it. Walk it. Show it to me. You know, this is our problem, Casey. And I think this, you know, kind of to wrap up a bit, I think this is what digital life is giving us. It's giving us the option to understand that we, as ballet world, dance world, we're not the superstars. We're learning a new landscape that is not our protective theaters, that is not the protective curtain. And we have to learn how to deal in this new landscape. And I think that this learning to develop ourselves, learning how to swim in this new landscape is gonna make us be more humble. It's gonna make us be more understanding. And hopefully, it's gonna make us make our art form last, hopefully eternally. If not, if we don't do this, dance, ballet, dance companies are going to be extinct in the next 20 years. It's that serious, Casey.
Yeah, I believe you. Yeah.
It's that serious.
Yeah. But I'm positive.
Yeah, well, we have to. We have to. We cannot lose faith,
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said earlier in the conversation, I agree with everything you're saying, and I've seen it. Probably not nearly. It hasn't been right in my face the way it has in yours, but I've definitely seen it. No, I think it's definitely time for a change. And like I said earlier, I think that change is actually happening, and people have really woken up and really gone, okay, yeah, we have to think outside the box, and not just on the stage and in the studio, but marketing, direction, all of these things we have to really change. And so, it's painful, but it seems to be happening. So there's a little bit of a bright spot there.
Yeah, I hope so, Casey. I hope so. This is the art form we chose. You invested all of your life in dance since you were a kid. Began taking classes. I've invested all my life in this since I was a kid, and I began taking classes. Then as a dance impresario, as a dance manager, this is our life. This is our life. This is no joke for us. Let's make it better.
Absolutely.
If not, we're going to lose it, Casey.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we're working. We're getting there.
We're doing it, man. We're doing it. Casey, I've got to go and cook dinner.
Okay, man.
It was great talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's keep in touch, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think we got to really continue this conversation, because this is a really important conversation, and we need to continue it, but we also need to discuss it with other people and bring in other conversations that are happening with the same idea. So
we should.
We'll definitely continue this and pick it up and keep it going. Because
let's try to make organize together maybe 4, 5, 6 different people Zoom interview, and we can maybe I'm completely wrong, and maybe people can show me that I'm wrong, and I'm very happy to accept this. And but discussion is always good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we need to talk about these things, so it would be great. Because I'm really trying to just introduce people for right now. But I do really want to get into some more really detailed discussions about very specific subject. And this is one of the subjects that I'm extremely interested in. I've been doing a lot of research into newer technologies and just really paying a lot of attention to what sports and other art forms are doing, to see how they're really engaging fans and bringing things out. So yeah, I really look forward to continuing this conversation and catching up and talking to you more in the future.
Just as a final point, technology is so important that the United States of America was governed by Twitter for 4 years.
Don't remind me.
But imagine.
Yeah.
That's the strength of this. It's not child's game.
Yeah. Well,
it's a super powerful tool.
And it's going to go a lot further too. I mean, there's some
It is.
powerful technologies coming down the pipeline
It
that
is.
we haven't even contemplated yet. Other industries are really starting to look at these things, and people in the dance world have no idea what's coming.
No idea.
One technology that I'm researching web monetization technology, but people need to wake up and learn what blockchain technology is all about as well, AI and other things. But blockchain technology in particular is going to do a huge a shift in how we fund and how we, what we do with our art form. Who are the investors? The whole economic structure is about to flip on its head. But I'm not going to go into that right now.
You know who we have to talk to? Elon Musk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me call him.
That's the guy we should have in our discussions, and that's the guy who can, help us change our art form as it should be. He's the guy.
All right. I'll leave that up to you.
I'll get in touch with him.
Get him. I'm looking forward.
See you later, Casey.
Peace, man. Thanks so much. Good.
Take care, man. Ciao, ciao.
Yeah.